All right, let's get right into it. The whole world of so-called human development. It's one of those topics, It really splits people down the middle. You're either a total believer, absolutely convinced it holds all the secrets to a better life, or you're a hardcore skeptic, thinking it's just one big, elaborate scam. There's almost no in-between.
So, on one side, you have people who will swear by this stuff. They'll tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread, that it's packed with life changing secrets. But then, on the complete opposite side, you've got people who just roll their eyes. To them, it's just quackery and fraud, a universe of empty promises designed to get your money. It feels like two views that just can't possibly exist in the same reality. But what if both the believer and the skeptic are kind of missing the point? What if the whole argument, all the confusion and all the controversy, actually starts with something super simple, a basic misunderstanding of the words we're all using?
Yeah, it really is a case of mistaken identity. We're going to unpack how a pretty simple mix-up in terminology has spun up this whole world of confusion. And it's that confusion that's allowed a massive industry to grow and thrive under a name it doesn't really have a right to. Okay, so first things first, let's get our terms straight. When an economist or someone at the United Nations talks about human development, they mean something very, very specific. It's a term that really came about after World War II, and it's all about how a nation grows, improving its economy, its healthcare, its education systems. The UN even has a formal measurement for this, the Human Development Index, the HDI, to track a country's progress.
Now, what's so wild is that the industry we're actually talking about, the books, the seminars, the motivational speakers, that's something else entirely. The proper term for that is self-help or self-development. It's all about the individual, about personal improvement. It has nothing to do with national socioeconomic policy. They're two totally separate things.
So why is everything so mixed up? Well, here's the thing. That confusion is often intentional. It's a strategy. When a speaker gets on stage and says something like, "Look at how Japan and Singapore achieved greatness through human development," they're hoping you confuse the two. They are literally borrowing the credibility of a national economic plan to sell you a personal development course. So how on earth did this self-help industry get to be the absolute giant it is today? Let's go back and trace the origins of this $12 billion story. We need to see how it went from simple advice to a massive modern market. I mean, the idea of giving people advice is as old as civilization, right? In ancient Egypt, you had guys like Ptah writing down tips for his son. In the medieval era, there were whole books on how to be a good king. Fast forward to the 18th century, and books on savoir-vivre, basically how to live, were all the rage in France. But the real game changer? That was 1859. An author named Samuel Smiles publishes a book with a brilliant title, Self-Help, and boom, that's the moment advice turned into a commercial product. And what a product it became. That book was a huge hit, and it basically created the blueprint for what is now, get this, in the United States alone, a $12 billion a year industry. No, that's not a typo. $12 billion every single year. But here's where it gets really interesting. Who is buying all of this stuff? Well, stats from the publishing world show that a whopping 80% of self-help customers are repeat buyers. Now that brings up a pretty obvious question, doesn't it? If these books and courses are so amazing and hold the secret to success, why do 8 out of 10 customers have to keep coming back for more? What are they still searching for? And that constant search, where does it lead? Well, a lot of the time it leads people down a rabbit hole of concepts that sound really scientific but aren't. So it's time to pull back the curtain and unmask the tools of the trade. I bet you've heard these before, all these buzzwords like neuro-linguistic programming or NLP, energy sciences, the law of attraction. They're everywhere. They sound so official, so powerful, so scientific. But when you actually dig in and look for the proof, the foundation just crumbles. Let's zoom in on probably the most famous one of all, NLP. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's see what the actual experts think. Dr. Thomas Witkowski, a psychologist who has spent a lot of time studying this, doesn't mince words. He says NLP represents, quote, pseudoscientific rubbish that should be forever abandoned. Ouch! And Dr. Gareth Roderick Davies, who's a head of psychology, he gets right to the heart of the deception. He says, the word neuro is deceptive since NLP offers no explanation at a neuronal level.
Basically, they slapped the word neuro on the front to make it sound like brain science, but there's no actual brain science behind it. And just to really hammer it home, Dr. Michael Corballis, another professor of psychology, straight up says that NLP is a largely misleading title, formulated to give the impression of scientific respectability. When the actual academic community is this united and this clear about something, that's a pretty massive red flag. Okay, so in a world that's swimming in $1 billion marketing campaigns and these pseudo-scientific buzzwords, how are you supposed to find advice that's actually helpful? The answer isn't to just dismiss everything. It's to build your own critical thinking toolkit so you can separate the real, useful stuff from all the noise. Here's a pretty simple guide to get you started. On the left, you've got the red flags. You want to be wary of anyone pushing pseudoscience like NLP, promising you secret formulas, or trying to sell you a super expensive life coach certificate you can get in a weekend. Now, on the right, those are the green flags. Look for people who back up what they say with real, verifiable science, who admit there's no one-size-fits-all answer and encourage trial and error. Look for people who share their relevant experience and focus on giving you practical, actionable things you can actually do.
The bottom line is just this. Real, true value comes from relevant experience. Just think about it for a second. If you wanted to nail a job interview, who would you rather get advice from? A hiring manager who's interviewed hundreds of people? Or someone who just got a certificate from a 5-day life coaching course? Real expertise needs proof, not just a fancy-sounding title. So at the end of the day, real self-development, real improvement, it isn't about finding some magic formula or unlocking a secret power inside you. It's about taking small, consistent, practical steps. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Forget all the hype, forget all the marketing. What is one real practical action you can take today to improve yourself? No secret required.
Please like and subscribe for more daily trading content, and then subscribe for more daily, weekly trading insights.